Guys, let's get started with a very interesting Reddit story from Shell Loser 42. Just let the kids sort it out themselves. Okay then. Backstory. I live in a town in the Netherlands with a university, and a few years ago, my GF's cousin got accepted as an overseas student. My GF is Japanese. Her family, father, mother, her sister, and herself, moved to the Netherlands while she was younger. Her cousin still lived in Japan when she applied, got accepted, and is now living in a student room in the Netherlands. We don't really have dorms here like in the US, but the building she lives in is maintained by the university itself. Said cousin is doing quite well for herself, got good grades, and is well on her way to get her diploma. Partly because of this, the overseas family decided to have their vacation in the Netherlands this year, both for leisure and a bit of a family gathering. This story takes place during the family gathering. My GF's parents and the cousin's parents, plus yet another family, had a meeting in a restaurant in my hometown. They had 2 little kids in tow, sisters. These looked like 8 or 9 or so to me, but my GF later told me that they are actually 11 and 12, but did look younger than they were, probably also because of their school uniform. At least that's what it looked like to me. I really don't know. Anyway, the idea was to catch up with the family, and my GF was asked if she would be willing to keep the 2 young kids busy for a few hours since she was the oldest of the lot. My GF and me are in our 40s. Her studying cousin is around 25, and as said, the 2 kids are around 10, 11 and 12. My GF didn't mind, but did ask me if I wanted to come along as well. Her cousin didn't mind. The 3 of us had met a few times before already. And, well, it was all about keeping the young kids busy anyway. Oh, for the record, the 2 young kids basically only speak Japanese. They do understand bits of English and can even speak some, but it's mostly Japanese. My GF's cousin speaks both Japanese and English and has even learned quite a bit of the Dutch language as well. Seriously, for the few years she's been here, it's IMO quite impressive. My GF speaks Japanese, English and Dutch, and as for me, Dutch, obviously, and English. But over the years, I also managed to pick up a decent bit of Japanese as well, and I can often, not always, understand the general gist of things, as long as it's not too quickly spoken or too complicated. So basically it was all English and Japanese between us. A bully shows up. We took the kids for a walk through my hometown, and they were quite interested, but when we went past a playground, that also quickly got their attention. So the 3 of us decided to go sit on a bench and let the kids have some fun. There were several activities like an air balloon castle, swings, a sandbox for younger kids to play in, just plenty of things to do. The 2 wanted to go into the castle, which was fine with my GF as long as they made sure to only use the entrance exit, which was located on our side so that they wouldn't get lost and we could keep track of them. The 3 of us talked quite a bit, but also kept eyes on the castle. So, around 15 or so minutes later, I spot the 2 again by accident near the exit, with a little kid in between them. I have no idea, but I'd say she was around 8 or so. I can't really tell exactly what's going on, but I did see the kid point to the area of the sandbox, and that's where the 3 of them headed next. Before I can say anything to my GF, a young lady walks up to us and asks, in Dutch, if we have seen a little girl passing by. This seems way too coincidental to me, so I ask, is she wearing a pink dress by any chance? The woman's face lights up as I tell her that she seems to be with my GF's younger cousins, and I point to the sandbox. But when we look over, we now also see an older boy near the girls. I'm not good with guessing ages, let's just say that he was bigger than them. And he's clearly harassing them. The small girl is visibly crying, but also comforted by one of the 2 younger cousins, while the other is keeping the boy away from her. We all walk over to the sandbox just when the boy manages to shove one of the cousins out of his way, and he's clearly trying to bully the young girl, in the pink dress, but now stopped by the other cousin. Which is when we arrive. The woman who is with us berates the boy and tells him to stop picking on young children. But the little brat clearly isn't very impressed. The incident. Next moment, his mother, so I assume, storms over yelling, and she has every appearance of a Karen, or a Toki, as we tend to call them over here. A little argument ensues, mainly between the mother of the girl in the pink dress and our Karen Toki. It goes back and forth, but it's apparent that according to his mother, the brat did nothing wrong by picking on a girl half his own size, and this fine example of a mother even has the audacity to blame the other mother for raising such a weak little C-word. Basically, dat krijg je ervan als je domme huppel katjes opvoedt. And then the Karen says, kids will be kids, just let them sort out their own problems already. But she does take the boy with her as she walks away. The mother gets ready to grab her kid and leave, but in the meantime, the girl has completely calmed down and is actually having a great time with the two cousins. Unknown to anyone else yet at this time, my GF decides to comply with the earlier suggestion. First, she asks the mother to reconsider leaving because the kids are having so much fun together. My GF also comments how amazing kids are because they clearly don't speak the same language, yet they seem to understand each other just fine and are having a good time. The mother agrees, and my GF now addresses both her cousins in Japanese. And it sounded very serious to me, something about the tone, the way she talked, and also looked at both girls, even a bit sternly. They both nodded and clearly said, "Hi," aka, "Yes, ma'am." I think I even saw a small head bow, but I'm not too sure. Our little group goes to sit on a bench nearby, and for the next 5 minutes, nothing happens. We're just having some small talk. Then the bully returns. The mother of the small girl wanted to stand up but gets stopped by my GF, who tells her that she has nothing to worry about because her kid is completely safe. Just watch. Trust me on this. The mother is visibly uneasy, but does remain seated. Which is when I noticed that the behavior and stance of the two cousins has completely changed. They seem much more confident and relaxed. The boy starts making a fuss, while one of the cousins stands up, points to him, and yells something at him, in Japanese, obviously. He, once again, tries to shove her out of his way, but this time, she's faster. She steps aside, does something with her leg, and gives him a huge shove. Next moment, he's eating sand. No, literally. He gets up visibly angry while his face is covered in sand. This time he becomes violent and actually tries to hit one of the cousins with his fists. Tries. She evades one attempt, then grabs his hand, spins it around, and the next moment the boy finds his arm twisted behind his back and he starts screaming. The other cousin now also stands up, pats the young girl on her head, makes another move, and once again the boy gets shoved to the ground, this time by both cousins. Hard. When he looks up, the other cousin actually makes a moving gesture as if she wants to kick him, but without actually moving her legs or anything. She's obviously just threatening him. My GF pokes me with a huge grin on her face and tells me, "Surely that deserves a point for self-restraint, don't you agree?" She's visibly loving every moment of this. Apparently the boy isn't totally stupid, and he runs off, while one cousin immediately turns to the young girl again, who is clearly still having a good time, not at the least upset with the bully. "What was that in God's name?" the mother asks. "Oh, sorry. What the hell was that?" she asks. My GF tells the mother that her cousins are taking the same self-defense classes as she and her sister once did, and that she had decided to pull ranks by telling her cousins that it was okay for them to actually defend themselves, as long as they didn't overdo it, of course. The mother wanted to know more about these classes, but unfortunately for her, my GF had to tell her that the actual school was located all the way out in a suburb of Tokyo, so not something her daughter would be able to attend. Mommy returns with a boe, guard. We're chatting some more for the next 10 minutes, after which the bully's mother storms over to us with a boe in tow. Boe is Dutch for bewust ongeschickte Ambtenaar. Buitengewoon opsporingsambtenaar, which basically means so much as being a deputy but without the proper training nor having any weapons. Generally speaking, most of them usually handle ticketing people. He tells us that he has gotten a complaint from the woman about people beating up her kid, to which the mother of the young girl immediately snaps, Whatever happened with letting the kids sort out their own problems? Now, the funny thing is, apparently, the whole spectacle didn't really go unnoticed, and before we could say or do anything, someone else had stormed over as well. "I saw the whole thing, officer," an older woman said. Her brat, pointing at the Karen Toki, was harassing and beating the kid in the pink dress when those two awesome kids stepped in and protected her. Meanwhile, another man had walked over. "Officer, that brat got everything he deserved. He started it. The only thing that happened was that those girls defended themselves from him." The officer listened to everyone's statements and ended up deciding to ticket the mother of the brat. I assume for disturbing the peace, but I don't know any details because at this time we decided to leave and we went our separate ways. Aftermath. During our walk back to the hotel, share restaurant, the cousins told us the whole story. And I actually learned something new as well. While they were in the castle, they saw the boy harassing the young girl in the pink dress and immediately decided that this wasn't right, also because he was almost twice her size. He actually pulled on her hair while she was already crying, which made the cousins plain out angry. But the only thing they did was get the boy away from the girl. One cousin distracted the boy by blocking him from grabbing the girl's hair again, and she also started taunting him while the other comforted the young girl and led her to the exit, but the one we agreed on. So the girl's mother never saw her leave and got worried. The other cousin managed to lose the boy in the crowd, at first anyway, and she joined her sister near the exit. So I asked my GF why they didn't do all that stuff right away, to which she told me that they weren't allowed to. The first rule of self-defense is apparently, always leave if you can. And her cousins are at a level where the use of these techniques outside their school is strictly prohibited, unless there is an actual threat, of course, or if they've been given direct permission by an elder of the same school. A rule which my GF was stretching a little bit, but she told me that she would write up the whole altercation so that the cousins could take her letter back with them. She was actually not kidding when she talked about points for self-restraint, because that would actually be her advice in the letter. But yeah, typical hypocrite behavior. Let the kids sort it out until it suddenly doesn't go your way, eh? Thanks for reading. TLDR. My GF's overseas family, SOS Japanese, decided to have their vacation in the Netherlands this year. They also organised a family gathering. During said gathering, my GF was asked to look after two of her younger cousins, age 11 and 12, and to keep them busy for a few hours. She was fine with that. Her student cousin, who was studying at a local university, tagged along, and I also got invited. First, we checked out my hometown, but when we passed a playground, the teenage cousins really wanted to play there, so we let them. During their play, they came across an older boy who was harassing a young girl. He was easily twice her size, and the cousins did not appreciate this. They took it on themselves to get the young girl out of the balloon castle they were in. My guess would be that she was 8 or 9 years old or so. The boy followed them into the sandbox. A little altercation happened between the bully's mother and the mother of the young girl. The Karen in this story basically told us off. It was perfectly fine what her son did. Just let kids sort out their own problems already. Which my GF, unknown to us, took to heart, and she complied to that by telling her cousins that if the boy would harass them again, then they were free to actually defend themselves. Said boy did return, tried to shove one of the cousins out of his way, and ended up with his arm twisted behind his back and getting thrown hard into the sand by both cousins, who somewhat implied that they were only getting started. He took off. The boy's mum later returned with a BOA, Sharon, an official police assistant. But several bystanders who had also seen the incident quickly told the officer what happened and spoke up against the bully. Mom of the Year ended up with a fine, but I don't know any further details. Thanks again for reading. Hope you enjoyed. Edit. Thanks you guys for all the warm feedback and comments. Yes, even you critics who shared some critical comments, because IMO, that is what Reddit is all about. Reason for my thank you vent is because this is the first time since the new awards that I got one for myself. I think still need to look into expiration and such. Unimportant? I am very much moved with all the feedback, updos, and now. Even an award? Thanks, you guys. You're awesome. Yes, even you critics. No, I'm not joking. Without people telling me no TLDR, I would never have thought of that, and so it got added. The malicious compliance was truly flawless. The Karen thought his son would beat OP girlfriend cousins, but they proved themselves to be expert at defending them. The fine to the Karen for letting the children fight in the public place brought a real touch of poetic justice. The next story is from compile_commit. Return to office to increase productivity? Note: this is a repost. Earlier post got removed due to rule violations. Added clarifying details at the bottom. Backstory: I was recruited by an IT MNC during COVID. My manager is extremely chill and an outstanding leader. My grandfather, manager's manager, is a stickler for rules. For the purpose of this post, I will address my manager as Sam and my grandfather as Murad. I work as infrastructure and configuration manager. Work passes through my gate first, and if I don't pass it, it doesn't go to the next team. I act as a choking point of sorts, and any dip in my productivity becomes several folds down the line. However, apart from Sam, management is blissfully unaware of this dependency. Story: when I joined, there was no office in my city. My joining was at a city over 1,100 miles away. All joining formalities were done online. Since then, I have never been to the office except for a 2-week workshop for which I was flown in by the company. 3 months ago, a new office has opened up in my city with just 14 people. My official location was transferred here to show the minimum number 15 required to open an office as per bylaws. We are an IT MNC that provides service to an automotive corporation. My work is completely remote, so I never need to go to the office. I also really enjoy WFH. The company started elective WFO last year and hybrid at the beginning of this year, but everything was mostly dependent on manager's approval. Sam is on site in a different country. He has never asked any team member to work from office. Murad, on the other hand, expects everyone to return to the office full-time. Usually, we are protected from this by Sam. Recently, Sam has transferred to a different team in the same project, and a different guy is now managing our team. Sam remains as my manager, but I no longer get to collaborate with him on my work, which is a huge bummer. The new guy is new to the company and easily swayed by Murad. Murad is originally from my city and decides to come back to his city to oversee the new office. The first thing he decides is everyone in this city should work from office. The other 14 are not affected, as they were already working from office. They work with specialized hardware that is only available at the office. The only one affected is me. I try to tell him that this will reduce my productivity. He is not convinced. I discuss my situation with Sam. He sympathizes but is not in a position to do something about it. Now, I am a tall guy with several orthopedic challenges. I need my workstation and chair of specific dimensions. At home, I have set it up over the last 3 years, but setting the same thing up at a new office is troublesome. However, I have been ordered to return to the office. QMC. On my first day at the office, 16 days ago, I talk to the building manager and present him with my workstation requirements. Each requirement mentions the corresponding OSHA violation if not adhered to. He tells me it will take 45 to 60 days to acquire my workstation up to the standards mentioned. I spend the next 2 weeks at the office relaxation zone, which has a chair on which I can be seated without hurting my back. However, it is not a work desk, so while I am at the office, I cannot work. Suddenly, everything is running really slow. Teams are sitting idly because work is stalled at my gate. There are bi-weekly deliveries across multiple milestones, about 6-12 deliveries every month. We miss 7 deliveries during that window. Murad is pissed, but has no idea why things are stalled. The new manager is also confused. This is escalated to the CEO, and he asks Sam to consult for his old project to see what went wrong. It takes Sam 30 minutes to realize that my gate is stalled. He asks me on Teams to join the call to discuss what's wrong. I am obviously not on my laptop. It takes a lot of back and forth, but eventually, Murad himself gets out of his room and searches for me. However, the office relaxation zone is on a different floor. He cannot find me and decides to have a separate call the next day. He exits the call and catches me on my mobile. The conversation goes like this. Murad, where are you? I couldn't find you in our floor. Can you please come to my room? Me? Sure. I come to his room and tell him what the issue is. Murad, why didn't you tell me this 2 weeks ago? Me? I did. I told you making me come to the office will reduce my productivity. And the workstation issue is a building manager issue. It has nothing to do with you, hence I did not inform you. My manager knows about it. I had informed Sam when I joined the company. Murad, please work from home until your workstation is ready. Next day, which was last Friday, I am WFH. The call with Sam happens before lunch. CEO joins the call as well. Sam asks me why things are stalled at my gate. Before I say anything, Murad jumps in and says that it was a minor issue and that work will be cleared fast. But CEO wants to know what's what, so I present my case. Sam agrees with me when I mention my condition. He also mentions that this was specifically mentioned in his handover to the new manager when he left the team. I am then asked to leave the call and go back to my work. After lunch, there is another call among Murad, Sam, building manager and me. Building manager informs us that it will cost the company $2,500 to set up my workstation. Since it is a non-standard workstation, it needs to be placed in its separate room. Room will be charged at $2,000 annually. It will take 30 days to get everything ready if we decide to go ahead. Murad tells me he will let me know what is decided by coming Tuesday. It's Sunday today, and I decided to write this up after I received a call from Sam in the morning. Apparently, Murad is done working in his city and will go back next week. I can continue working from home. My workstation, chair, and separate room will be ready by the end of next month, and I am welcome to work from office whenever I want. Clarifications. I will add answers to some common queries. MNC. This stands for Multinational Corporation. Quite a common acronym. Grandfather. Manager's manager is called a grandfather in my culture. The hierarchy is described like in case of a family. Great-grandfather becomes grandfather's manager and so on. We don't actually call them using these titles, but rather refer to them using the titles in conversation or mails or official documentation. For example, an official documentation about mobile bill reimbursements may say, mobile bills up to $50 is approved. Any hire will require grandfather approval. Room charge. Since there are only 15 employees, we have office space rented in a building where several small-scale companies rent. An additional room is not in the contract and will have to be rented separately. OP took a brilliant revenge through calculated compliance. Using his knowledge of OSHA requirements for work, he delayed the work so that the arrogant manager finally had to let home do work from where he wants. Managers need to understand the comfort of employees, and they should focus on outcomes not from where employees are working. OP did a wonderful job.